All right, let's dive right in. Today, we are breaking down the latest Next-Gen AI newsletter, and our goal here is simple, to give you that high-level, 360-degree view of what's actually moving the needle. So for all you investors, executives, and researchers out there, think of this as your rapid-fire briefing on what really matters. Let's get to it.
So, here's how we're going to tackle this. First, we'll see where AI is actually making contact with the real world. Then, we're going to peek behind the curtain at the research that's building tomorrow's AI. After that, we'll get into the really big conversation, governance and safety. And finally, we'll tie it all together with a strategic framework to make sense of it all.
Okay, first up, AI in the wild. We're talking about moving way past the theoretical and into actual tangible applications. We're seeing some huge moves from the big players in robotics, cybersecurity, and even quantum computing.
I just love this quote because it really hits the nail on the head. For decades, asking properly meant you had to write endless lines of really complex code. But that is starting to change, and it's changing in a big way. So check this out. You've got Boston Dynamics, famous for their incredible robots, teaming up with Google DeepMind. And what they're doing is teaching the Spot robot to actually reason. We're moving away from rigid, pre-programmed commands to something much more intuitive, more human. And that, right there, makes these advanced robots so much more accessible and powerful.
But of course, there's a flip side. If an AI can reason its way through a physical task, well, you better believe it can reason its way around a digital security system. So as these AIs get smarter, the race to build smarter cyber defenses is heating up like never before.
And OpenAI is not sitting on its hands. They're getting proactive, expanding their trusted access for cyber program. The really big news here is a brand new, specialized tool, GPT-5.4-Cyber, that they're putting directly into the hands of trusted security pros. The goal is pretty clear. Let's build up the defenses just as fast as the threats are evolving.
And if you think that sounds like it's from the future, let's shift gears to something even more out there. We're talking about what happens when two of the most mind-bending fields in tech, quantum computing and AI, start to merge. What NVIDIA just did with Ising is, well, it's a really big deal. By making these quantum AI models open source, they basically just fired the starting gun on a whole new race. For any execs and investors listening, this isn't just some niche tech update. This is a massive signal that the timeline for useful quantum applications in things like medicine and finance just got a whole lot shorter.
Okay, so that's what's happening out in the corporate world. But what's cooking in the research labs? Let's take a look at the papers that are literally laying the foundation for the next wave of AI.
Education is a perfect example. For a while now, AI and learning has been, let's be honest, kind of static. You know, predefined quizzes, one-size-fits-all lesson plans. But new research on a system called PAL is flipping that script. It's context-aware, it adapts on the fly, and it creates a truly personal learning path that actually responds to how a student is doing.
And this idea leads us to the next big leap, AI autonomy. There's this new paper on something called the AI scientist system. Now, the problem it's trying to solve is that AI agents are pretty good at quick, simple tasks, but they really struggle with long, complex projects. AI scientist, on the other hand, is designed to stay focused on one single research problem for hours or even days, handling everything from understanding the problem to writing and debugging the code. Now, when AI systems get powerful enough to do their own research, you can bet governments start paying attention. They don't just want to use this tech, they want to own it. And this is kicking off a huge global trend, the race for what people are calling sovereign AI.
But here's the catch, and it's a big one. The research is pretty clear that the absolutely massive cost and the deep, deep engineering talent you need to train these models has kept this power mostly in the hands of big private companies. This creates a huge hurdle for any government trying to build its own AI from the ground up.
And all of this incredible power, from robots that can reason to AIs that can act like scientists, it brings us to what might be the most critical conversation in the entire industry right now. How do we balance this crazy pace of innovation with, being responsible? This question, and it's actually the title of a research paper, it just perfectly frames the whole debate. As these AI systems go from just thinking and predicting to actually doing stuff in the real world, the stakes go up a lot. And hey, this isn't some distant future problem we're talking about. Projections are showing that a staggering 80% of enterprise apps will have AI copilots built right in by the end of 2026. That number just highlights the sheer scale of this and the urgency to get the security right.
This leads us to something researchers are calling the fundamental security gap. It's this new kind of vulnerability that just opens right up the second you give an AI agent permission to take real actions, read your files, run code, change a database. It's a brand new kind of threat that we're really just starting to wrap our heads around.
So how are we measuring safety? Well, the picture gets a little messy. One project, AI Safety Bench Explorer, found 195 different AI safety benchmarks. But the takeaway was pretty stark. The whole ecosystem is completely fragmented. We've got a ton of tests, but no coherent way to measure safety. And the governance around it all is pretty weak. We're kind of flying blind here.
So, you've got this amazing innovation, mind-blowing research, and some really urgent safety questions. With all that in mind, how should anyone, especially leaders and organizations, actually move forward? Let's try to connect the dots.
AWS actually offers a pretty practical guide for this. They call it the Path to Value framework. It breaks it down into 3 logical steps. First, start with the low-hanging fruit. Use AI to boost productivity. Then, move on to making customer experiences better. And finally, use it to totally reshape your core operations. It's a pretty clear roadmap.
When you really zoom out, the entire story of AI right now boils down to this one core tension. On one side, you have the absolutely breathtaking speed of innovation we've been talking about. And on the other, you have this desperate, lagging need for good governance, safety, and regulation.
So let's wrap this up for all the decision makers out there. The key takeaway is this: AI is not a lab experiment anymore. It's here. It's impacting everything from robots to quantum computing. At the same time, research is pushing autonomy to its limits, and that's creating a new fundamental security gap, which means the need for smart strategic governance, it's not just important, it is absolutely essential.
And that leaves us with the big, critical question that sits underneath all of this progress. As these systems get more and more autonomous, able to act on their own for days at a time, who ultimately is accountable when something goes wrong? That's the question we all need to be thinking about. Thanks for tuning in.